Hi, we're Nia and Marianne from Seren Health Coaching. We are metabolic health coaches who are passionate about good metabolic health for everyone. We also love to chat about all things health and to share as much information as we can with people who want to make changes to their lifestyle but aren't quite sure where to start. We're going to release a new episode every Friday where we talk about a different aspect of health. So do subscribe and let us know what you think. We'd also love to know what you're interested in too. So if there's something that you'd like us to have a chat about, do send us a message and we'll do our best to cover it soon.
Hi, Nia.
Hello.
We're going to talk about something you're really passionate about today. And
Yes.
I think quite a lot of our listeners might be interested. So, what are we talking about?
Yeah, I think arguably you and I have been discussing this together for a really long time.
Yeah, how many years? Quite a lot of
Quite a
years.
lot. So
Yeah.
today we are talking about meal replacement products. Okay.
Oh, yes.
And there just seem to be so many. There are shakes, there are soups, there are powders,
Yeah,
there are pots, there are
yeah,
bars.
yeah.
I mean, the whole kit and
I
caboodle.
mean, when did this all start? So we should make a differentiation between meal replacements for clinical and
Yeah, so
medical reasons.
absolutely. Yeah. Let's put this out on the
Yeah,
table first. We are not talking
yeah,
about medical meal replacement products. And by
yeah,
this, I mean anyone who is unable to eat normally for a
yeah,
medical reason, who
yeah,
has to be fed via a tube like a PEG or an NG
yeah,
tube,
of course.
or who has a top up product in order to make sure they get the nutrients they need because they've got absorption issues. So, you and I
Yeah, they
both,
different. Yeah.
yeah, they are different people. So we've given out all of those for years for people who need them.
Or somebody who can't swallow very well or doesn't get enough calories for whatever reason. Yeah.
Yes, for those reasons. But these are the products that we are talking about
Yeah.
are normal people like you and I,
Yeah.
although arguably we're not normal.
Yeah, normal.
Um,
Yeah.
there's a spectrum of normal,
Yeah,
Marianne.
exactly.
Uh,
I've
but
never
yes,
wanted to be normal, have you?
no, it's quite
No.
nice being in my world.
Yeah.
Anyway, these are people who are actively choosing to buy a product that is for their lunch or their dinner or their breakfast that comes
Yeah.
in a package.
We should
That's who we're talking
also
about.
say that there are clinical trials going on in our world that use meal replacements as the beginning of that
Yes.
reversing, modifying their dietary intake and things. Because actually, we know that nutritional research is a minefield
Yeah.
because
And it's hard, isn't it? You have to think about that as that is the only way you can make a
yeah,
standardized product for
exactly,
everybody on a
yeah.
trial.
So
So
that's also a bit
again,
different. Yeah,
totally different.
yeah.
So
Okay.
these things originated, these meal replacements have gone
Yeah,
back a really long way when I looked into it. So,
yeah.
think about people who went to explore the North Pole.
Yes.
They couldn't take their fruit and vegetables with them.
Yeah.
So they needed food that had a long shelf life. So something called pemmican, which have you heard of
Oh
that? It was
no.
basically like a loaf, like a meat loaf. So it was high
Yeah.
energy, usually had some meat in it, some dried fruit. It was all broken into a powder and then mixed with melted fat and the mixed fruit. And then you had a dense, nutritious sort of energy
Okay.
ball thing.
Yeah.
And then from there, we went to lots of different things. But I think the one that people will most remember is the one that came out in the 1970s as a shake,
Yeah.
powdered shake.
And to
Um,
do with weight.
and it was
That was the
originally
beginning of
all
weight.
to
Yeah.
do with weight.
Okay.
So you'll remember that it
I
was a
do.
shake for breakfast, a
Yes.
shake for lunch, and a proper
Yes.
dinner. Although the proper dinner was always a bit in inverted commas, I think.
Yeah, whatever proper dinner was.
Yeah,
And they came in all sorts of flavors.
they did. So vanilla, chocolate, strawberry.
And
And
remember at the
as
time we were all about saturated fats, weren't we? So these
yes,
products were often very high in sugar.
yeah, so they were designed to go alongside the microwave meal dinners, the calorie
Yeah.
controlled microwave dinners.
Yeah, so
So
those came out a
yeah.
little bit after that. I do particularly remember that there was a bit company, obviously. There weren't that many companies doing those shakes. That was the original. Yeah.
That went on for quite a while, so from the 1970s through the 1980s, 90s, 2000s,
As
and
weight
then
got more of an issue. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And then all of a sudden, about 10 to 15 years ago, there was an explosion of
Okay.
meal replacement products on the market that weren't associated with a diet program. So they were no longer, you're on a weight loss diet, this is what you need to have.
Okay.
They were products aimed at people who wanted a fast, convenient meal,
Okay.
usually for lunch at work. That was the target, office workers. And they claimed that they were healthy, they were nutritionally complete, they were made from real
Yeah.
food, but
Yeah.
they just happened to be in a powder form or in a pot
Yeah.
that you poured
Yeah.
boiling water on, and there you go.
I think it's very attractive for somebody to buy what they think is a really healthy substitute, to
Hmm.
mix it up in the office. Remember, because it's also the huge convenience of it,
Yeah.
not to have to make it and prior all those things. Yeah.
Instead of going to the shop or the baker's to buy your sandwich or your meal deal or whatever, and again, we'll talk about that another
Meal
time.
deals, yeah.
Um,
We love a
this was
meal deal.
almost
Yeah.
mm, almost like a status symbol, because actually these things come in beautiful packaging.
Oh, and I do like beautiful packaging. So
Yes.
so they went more at market, is that what you're thinking?
They did. They went much more upmarket, and actually, if you
Yeah.
look at how much they cost, obviously you pay for the
Mm.
packaging, you pay for the convenience, um, but health-wise, my question is, are they any good?
Yes, and I think this is not, as we always find when we do these podcasts, you just think this will be a 5-minute job because it's so clear, but it's not
Yes.
always as clear as you think it's going to be. Okay, so they're very expensive. You're
Yeah.
paying for convenience and good packaging,
Yeah.
but are they actually delivering what you want?
Well, so I've had a look, and they do
Okay.
make some outrageous health claims, I've got to be
Yeah.
honest. Um,
You're so cynical.
I know.
Yeah.
But when one of them says that this particular product has
Yeah.
171 health benefits, and
Oh,
I thought,
170.
are you, well, honestly, are you kidding me? So when I looked into it, because obviously you can click a link and it'll say what each thing does.
Yeah.
Well, actually, the same nutrient is listed like 5 or 6 times, but for different things. So
Oh,
say it's,
you're such a detective about these things.
I
No one
know,
can ever get away with anything. I
I know,
mean, usually people who read those things will not be well, they'll not
I
know
know.
that those were different.
I'm
No.
sorry,
Okay.
I've really burst
I
everyone's
know.
bubble. But I just think that, it's too good to be true, and of course it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Um, and I just, people are being hoodwinked, and I don't think that's fair, especially considering how much they're paying for it. So they say they're
And
nutritionally complete and they have
yeah.
all your vitamin and mineral needs covered. And of
Yeah.
course, I'm not saying they're lying, because when you look into their ingredients, of course they do have that. But
Yeah.
are they really putting in the best quality vitamins and minerals for you? I mean, they've got to make a profit, right?
Quality of vitamins and minerals, but remember the
Yeah,
person on the street does not
doesn't.
know that the qualities are different. So there's what do you call it? But absorbability.
Bioavailability.
Yeah, but that, yeah, all of that. So I mean, people don't really know any of that.
No.
Um, and also, there's been a huge explosion of the meal replacement shakes into all sorts of other products, haven't they?
Yes. Oh, massively. So now we've got protein powders,
Yeah,
protein waters,
yeah,
green
protein water. Yeah.
powders. So you don't have to eat real food anymore. You can have your greens in a powder.
Yeah.
That's again another podcast.
Yeah.
But when I looked into it again, I mean, apart from the fact that I think that they are gilding the lily somewhat with their nutritional claims, I
Yeah, of
also had a
course.
look at the ingredients that they were putting in,
Yeah.
and to see whether or not this is, as they claim, real food, or actually is there some processing in there that we need to be aware of. And there is some real food in there, but there is also some stuff that certainly you and I do not have in our kitchen cupboards.
Okay. So that's always telling, isn't it?
That's always very telling.
Like
So
thickeners and gums and emulsifiers. Yeah.
preservatives, some also really weird things that I certainly don't use. I mean, have you put smoked water in your food recently?
Oh, I don't know. It sounds good though. I like a bit of smoked.
And then there are some other things in there as well. So a lot of them say, "Oh, free from artificial sweeteners." Okay, but they've put dextrose in it, and which is a form of sugar, glucose syrup, sugar, actual sugar, okay, coconut sugar. Well, just because it came from a coconut doesn't mean it's
I
any
know. I
better
love the
for you.
coconut bit. Yeah. Okay.
So Yeah, so I have a real red flag with these. I think it's marketed incredibly cleverly, but
Yeah,
in a lot of cases you'd have to say it's ultra processed. And
yeah.
I don't know that people realize that they're not having what they think they're having. And then when you go down the quantity of the ingredients, they'll say, "Oh, there's a red pepper in here, 1.3%," and it's like, I don't know, half a centimeter of red pepper is what you actually get in
Yes.
your
I
thing
mean, the first thing to learn is that the biggest quantities of things are at the top of the
at the
list.
top.
I mean,
And if
that just
sugar's the
knowing
third
that is
ingredient,
useful. Yeah, if you're
yeah,
looking at ingredients. When you see, I don't know, I've seen smoothies I've picked up and thought, great, these have got guavas in. I love guavas and whatever else. And then when you look at the percentage, it's got
0.01%.
a tiny bit of fig in it that's obviously just come from a, I don't know if it's even really come from a fig. Yeah, so we get hoodwinked because we want to be hoodwinked, you know. It's
Yes,
sort of, we're looking for hoodwinking, aren't we?
we are. And I absolutely agree with you. I do not blame people because
No.
when I went to work in an office or when I went to work in a pharmacy
Mm,
or in a GP practice, I was terrible about lunch. I really was. Couldn't be
yeah, we
bothered to
all
make
are because
it.
we've got better things to do than prepare lunch for ourselves.
Well, of course. And I do think, people try really hard to live a healthy life. It sounds like
Mm.
an easy answer. Um, Very, very powerful to have something that's shelf stable and convenient in your office drawer that if you can't get out for lunch, you can have.
Okay, so why? I mean, we've talked a bit before about this, but so why would you go and buy these products? So if it's so easy, yeah, to
Mm,
take a little box and
yeah.
take your whole food to work, why are people buying them?
Well, I don't yeah, so that's part of it. I think part of it is that we're all so, so busy. So this is
Yeah,
something that is
yeah,
convenient.
very
Um,
convenient.
some
Yeah.
of us might have PTSD from the lunch boxes that our mothers
Oh, don't talk about that. Yeah,
and the avocado sandwiches.
yeah, that.
Um,
Yeah, you don't want to talk about that.
um, there is definitely a decrease in so many years ago, people were given lunch as part of their work.
Yes,
So,
that's
there
often
were
gone.
cafeterias
Yeah,
on site, so often they're not there
yeah,
anymore. Um,
subsidized. Yeah.
There's often I worked in a place where, there used to be a catering van that came round, so you could buy your lunch from there, but often that's now got more expensive and less of an
Or they
option for
mostly
people,
sandwiches, actually.
and they're
Yeah,
mostly sandwiches, so, not
yeah,
for everybody. There's a huge host of reasons, I think, but I'm not saying that these are not useful in some circumstances. I'm just saying that could we inspire people to
yeah.
maybe once or twice a week use something different and feel a bit better for it?
So if you had to put this, I mean, I always used to say to my patients with diabetes, if they said, "Is fruit a good snack?" I'd say, "Well, put it this way: it's better than a Snicker bar."
Mm.
So there's a relativity about this stuff. So you could say, is a meal replacement better than a meal deal? So we're going to talk
It
about meal
depends,
deals in
actually.
another podcast,
Yeah.
but I think we need to put it in perspective. So ideally, you're going to take food with you for the day, aren't you? And we talk about that a lot.
The ideal would be, I don't know,
Yeah.
leftovers from the night before
Yes.
and having a microwave at work to heat
If
it
you
up.
had something decent the night before, of course.
Of course, yes.
What if you
So,
went for a takeaway the night before? Well, you can still take some takeaway to work,
yeah.
depending what it is, I suppose. Yeah.
Say you were really good though, and you had made yourself a very nice, healthy meal, and you'd made
Yeah.
yourself a portion that you could take to work the next day.
Yes.
Fabulous. If you don't have a microwave, they now invented thermal lunch boxes, which are
Yeah,
fabulous. You
you
can take
see
like a
all of
hot meal
that.
in.
Yeah, because that's often people say, well, we don't have any facilities to warm stuff
Mm.
up. Yeah, we get those soup thermoses, which are really good.
Yeah. If you aren't a fan of leftovers, then I personally think you could make your lunch whilst you are making your dinner. When you're making dinner
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
something's always sort of simmering for 10 minutes or whatever, you could make yourself a lunch
But we're
in
talking
that
about
time.
20-year-olds that don't,
Yeah,
I'm not talking only about 20-year-olds, but I'm just thinking about my adult children. It's a big ask, isn't
it
it,
is.
to
Yeah.
think
Which
about
is why
lunch
I'm
the next
saying,
day.
yeah, which
Yeah,
is why I'm saying maybe not all the time. Maybe this is something
yeah,
you do and
yeah,
try and reduce the amount. Batch cooking, obviously, some people are
yeah,
really good at batch
fantastic.
cooking.
Yeah. If you can
Um,
get it to do it, it's great. It
yeah,
changes everything, actually, batch cooking. We could have a whole thing on batch cooking because
yeah,
it did change my life. Because I got diagnosed as a celiac in my mid 50s, where everybody went to meetings and were provided with sandwiches in the
mm,
practice. I had to take
yeah,
my own food, and it wasn't easy. I didn't do it, with any joy, but it
no,
was life changing for me because I actually had to choose to eat differently. So we
yeah,
can't all be diagnosed with celiacs to get this plus, and nor would you
no,
want to.
no,
But
no. There
but
are
it was
downsides.
it was a yeah, there are some
Yeah,
downsides. Who knew? But I think batch cooking was part of that as well.
yeah.
Having something that you could easily take to work, and back to the old Greek yogurt berries and and
Well, yeah, build your
seeds
own
and nuts.
salad.
Yeah,
Yeah. There's things like you can make a soup in a jar,
yeah.
and then you just add hot water when you get to work. So
Oh,
there's all this stuff on TikTok and Instagram, these beautiful
yeah.
mason jars that, you don't have to have the beautiful mason jar, just get a jar. Who cares what it looks like? But if you stack it well and you prepare it in advance, you might have a really
It
nice
reminds me of
lunch.
Michael Mosley on one of his recent TV programs. Looked at batch cooking lunches in those jars. So it
Yeah.
wasn't batch cooking; it was just making salads, right? And you
Yeah,
put
yeah.
them in lovely colored layers, and
Oh,
then you
yes.
turn it upside down into a bowl. And the first day it tastes pretty good, and the second day it's not too bad. By the third day it's getting a bit bland,
Yeah,
and by the
yeah.
fifth day you couldn't actually eat it. So that was quite interesting. So,
Yeah.
we're very good at the TikTok version, but actually real life ain't quite the
It's
same.
very, very different. This is why
Yeah.
I'm saying that, no judgment here. I used to go to the supermarket and just buy a random
Yeah.
selection of things
Yeah.
because, yeah, you're busy, you're time
Because it's
poor,
life. Yeah, it's
and it's
life.
life. And often we
Yeah.
don't think, we're doing our children's lunchboxes, but we're not doing one for ourselves.
No,
Um,
I hated lunchboxes so much by the time I'd
I make
done
my husband do it.
4 children's lunchboxes. Honestly, I'd have
That is
loved
the
to have
one thing,
married a
honestly.
man who did lunchboxes. I'd never thought about that when I was looking.
I didn't marry a man who did lunchboxes. I just told him that was his job.
But he's taken it seriously, so
He
that's
has.
interesting. I mean,
He gets
my
extra
children,
brownie points
goodness,
for that.
I'm never ever going to I'm never going to tell you what I put in my children's lunch boxes ever. It's certainly not on a
I'm taking that
podcast
one to the
because
grave.
yes, I so awful. I feel terrible shame. But anyway, that was, the way
Yeah.
it was. But I agree that you often the last person to spend that time,
Yeah.
and it's really self care, I suppose. And as
It
you get
is.
older and you get more interested in your health, because sometimes you have to, or
Mm,
if you're lucky enough, and you get more interested just because you want to live life to the full,
mm.
and you've found away, it gets easier to invest in that time and do
Yeah.
stuff like, batch cooking. And it is possible, even if you're a cool 20, 30-year-old, to do it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just more effort than putting milk into a bottle and shaking it
And
up
it,
and drinking something.
yeah.
I
The
can
other
see
thing,
the attractiveness myself of meal
oh,
replacements.
well, I can and I can't because I used to have a really sweet tooth, but now not so much.
Mm,
I don't think I could
mostly
drink a
they're
milk.
very sweet.
I
Yeah.
just do enjoy actual food too much to drink a milkshake every day for lunch.
Yeah.
But I think perhaps the other thing to put on this is that with the advent of more at home working, which is has
Mm,
is definitely a thing.
yeah.
And they are talking, I read this morning about making it a much more compressed, condensed working week so that we can
Yeah.
actually survive as a
Get some benefits,
yeah.
yeah.
Because we weren't actually put on this planet in order to work
To
ourselves to death.
work. Yeah.
So
Interesting.
with the advent of all
Yeah.
of that, I do think that perhaps being at home more in our working day will enable us to make a bit of
Yeah.
a
Yeah. Well,
easier
you would hope so, wouldn't you? You would
lunch.
hope that it's
Yeah.
easier. But I'm not I'm sure that meal replacements will always exist.
I think
And
they
then
always
I
will.
suppose you need to look at the best quality meal replacement
You do, and I
and
think you have to align
and
that
the
with
cost.
the
Yeah.
cost,
Oh God.
and also to how often that you're having them. I don't think one of my other big bugbears actually is that they all say all these vitamins and minerals, but then they just say, oh, we can have them all together. And as we said in that other supplement thing,
Yeah, you can
there is
have
a
too
limit.
many.
So that's obviously really important. But I just think that being aware is the first thing of everything.
We should end with this little thing I think about, and we're talking about people who like the idea of a really tight sort of schedule so they have the meal replacement. They don't have to make choices outside of that, which is so
Mm,
difficult for them. So we'll talk about meal deals in another podcast, but trying to choose a healthy meal deal is almost impossible. So I can see that for some people it's very attractive not to have choices. And
yes. There is that thing of decision fatigue, isn't there? That, we
all
have
that.
so many decisions to
Yeah.
make every
Yeah.
single day. And sometimes I look in the fridge and think, "Oh, I've got to make dinner again. Again.
Yes, I think about it almost most days. Yes, exactly. So wouldn't it be nice if you just thought, "Oh, lovely, I'll just pop that bottle off the shelf, put some almond milk in it, shake it, and that's my day." And we
Yeah.
always thought, well, didn't you write essays at school? I mean, I did, and I was a long time before you, about, the fact that we would one day just be popping pills and wouldn't eat food. Did you ever write those essays?
I remember reading, yeah, well, I didn't write one, but I did
That's
read that kind of thing. That's just really sad, though, isn't it? Food's really nice, Marianne.
I thought that's really magic. You could take a pill. And it made a huge impression on me that the future was, very different because we
Mm,
were fed really well by mistake, really, because there was no processed food much. So I'm
mm,
not saying we were fed by design, but yeah, interesting. I think meal replacements are here to stay.
yeah,
I suppose it's all about making the very best choices, and using them sometimes is fine.
yeah, absolutely. Cool.
And actually, I wish we'd thought of it.
No, I don't.
We could have been in the Bahamas by now if we'd thought of a really cool meal
Yeah, but
replacement. I
even in
know,
the
I
Bahamas, you have to
know.
have dinner every day.
I dream, I dream. All right.
Right.
Nice to talk to you.
And you. See you
Bye for
soon.
now. Bye.